سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح.
Ibadallah, it is the month of Ramadan, and I only feel it is, we're going to talk at something, very, very unusual, not usually, but unusual, and it involved actually about 5 issues which I wanted to talk about, but I've cut out one to make it shorter. And we're going to look at some lessons. Remember, I say some lessons for those of us who do fast. Those of us who really want to take note of it, wallahi, they will benefit by it mostly. Ibadallah, there are many, many people who fast and do not have a piece of bread to eat, or a taste of milk, or a handful of tamar of dates. There are others who fast and do not have a house to shelter them, or a means to transport them, to convey them, or a friend to support them. I want you to know that by your sacrifice this month and giving, you actually give a loan to Allah Azza wa Jal. For the day of your poverty and when you're really going to need it, the day of loss and gain. Know that a drink of water, a taste of milk, a handful of dates, a little food, money, clothes, and fruits you give to the needy are all it takes to clear your way to Jannah, inshallah. Many, many of us think that fasting is just staying away from food and drink, and that's it, halas. We human beings are at the mercy of our limbs, such as our eyes, our hands, our tongues, our stomachs, and our private parts. Now the heart, ibadallah, is the controller of all of these. And today we're going to look at the true essence of fasting by looking at just a few of them. And the first one we're going to look at, the first lesson, ibadallah, is how does the qalb fast? The heart, ibadallah, is the guidance. The heart's guidance, it is the basis of all hidayah, of all guidance. The law of all success, the origin of every deed, and the head of every amal, of every action that we do. Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, truly there is a piece of flesh in the body which if it be wholesome, the whole of the body be healthy. And if it be diseased, the whole of the body be diseased. Truly it is the qalb, the heart. So the goodness of our heart, ibadallah, it guarantees our happiness in this dunya and also in the akhirah. Also, its corruption is the surest way to destruction, the extent of which only Allah Azza wa Jal knows, as it tells us in Surah Qaf. Inna fi dhalika la dhikra liman kana lahu qalbun wa alqa sam'a wa huwa shaheed. Verily therein is indeed a reminder for him who has a heart or who gives ear while he is heedful. Now every creature has a heart, either one that is alive and beating with the light of Iman, filled with intense conviction and belief, confidence and taqwa, or one covered and diseased with every wreckage and rubbish, ibadallah. About the hearts of the foolish, Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَدٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. In their hearts is a disease, and Allah has increased their disease. From many, many verses, we learn how hearts, they can become ill, they can become covered, they can become locked, and they can die. Allah's enemies also have hearts, but they don't understand with them. Hence our Prophet ﷺ used to say, Allahumma muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O changer of hearts, make my heart firm on your religion, on your deen. Now the heart of the believer, ibadallah, fasts during and outside Ramadan. This is done by emptying it of all the corrupt issues such as destructive forms of polytheism, false beliefs, evil suggestions, filthy intentions, and wicked, immoral thoughts. The believer's heart is filled with a brilliant light which do not allow darkness to stay in it. To it is added the natural light upon which Allah's servants were created, as He tells us about this in Surah An-Nur, light upon light. Allah guides to His light whom He wills. Allah sets forth parables for mankind, and Allah is all-knower of everything. The believer's heart, ibadallah, glows like a lamp, shines like the sun, and sparkles like the morning light. It increases in iman when it listens to the Quran. It grows in conviction when it contemplates, and increases in hidayah when it reflects. It abstains from pride. Why? Because pride breaks its fast. Pride does not live in a believer's heart because it is haram, it is unlawful. Remember, the home of pride is the qalb, it is the heart. If it enters, then that person will become afflicted, he will become foolish, he will become arrogant and frivolous and playful. In a hadith Qudsi, pride is my upper garment and grandeur my lower one. Whoever contests with me for them, I will punish him. Our Prophet ﷺ said, whoever shows Allah arrogance, He will humble him. And whoever is humble to Allah, Allah will raise his rank. A believer's heart fasts and abstains from egotism. Very important point about Allah. What is egotism? Egotism is when we see ourselves as perfect, better than others, and having good qualities not found in anyone else. This is destruction in its most naked form, and our Prophet ﷺ, he said, 3 things which are totally destructive: a person's self-centeredness and conceit, his reluctance to obey, and his following his own desires. The cure for all of this, ibadallah, is to look at our own faults. Our many, many shortcomings, the thousands of sins we have committed, the wrongs we have done and forgotten, but the knowledge of which are only with Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is not led astray, nor does He forget to remember this, ibadallah. A believer's heart fasts and abstains from envy because it lowers righteous deeds and puts out the heart's light and stops its progress towards Allah Azza wa Jal. Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not envy one another, do not inflate prices on one to another, do not hate one another, and do not turn away from one another, and do not undercut one another. A companion, he was asked 3 times, thrice, that at least he was told 3 times that he would be one of the people of Jannah. And when he was questioned, what was it that earned him this place in Jannah, and listen to what was his answer. He said, I do not sleep or go to sleep every night with envy, with grudge, with deceit in my heart for any Muslim. Allahu Akbar. Are there any hearts that would fast like the learned today? The learned's heart fasts, it has a longing for Allah. Their hearts fast at all times, and in the early hours of the morning, they seek forgiveness from Allah. Lesson 1, ibadallah. The next one is, how does the tongue fast? The tongue, it has a special fast, ibadallah. It is well known to those believers who turn away from all that is playful. The tongue's fasting is a permanent feature of and out of Ramadan. Though in Ramadan it is disciplined and it is curbed, of course. Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, control this, and pointing to his tongue, and in response Mu'adh said to him, even if we speak about what we should, Ya Rasulullah, and the Prophet replied, your mother would grieve for you, O Mu'adh. People will be thrown in the hellfire on their faces because of what their tongues are saying. The tongue's harm and danger is great and huge, and we don't realize this, ibadallah. Abu Bakr used to hold his tongue and say, this is what landed me into this position. The tongue has 7 injuries. The serpent bites and fire burns. Do not mention the faults of people. For all of us, we do have faults. And people, they do have tongues. Allah shows rahmah, mercy to those who restrain their tongues from treachery. avert it from backbiting, and stop and bide from vain talk and prohibitions. Surely Allah will be merciful to him who checks and weigh his words. Watch what you say, ibadallah. He tells us in Surah Qaf once again, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Not a word does he say or utter, but there is a watcher ready to write it down, to record it. Every expression and word is recorded and counted. Our Prophet ﷺ said, whoever can guard what is between his jaws and between his legs, I will guarantee him Jannah. Our righteous forefathers disciplined themselves with the morality of the Quran, the goodness of the Quran and the Sunnah. They weighed and respected their statements and their words, what they were saying. Their statements were Allah's remembrance, their looks were lessons, and their silence, it was thoughts, about Allah, for us to think about. When they feared the meeting with Allah, they used their tongues in His remembrance and gratefulness. They refrained from treachery, obscenity, and chatter. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, he said, by Allah, there is nothing more deserving than the extended control of their tongue. The righteous remembered its results, and what did they do? They kept quiet. How many, tell me, how can someone fast and give free rein to his tongue? Let his tongue just do what it wants to? How can someone fast the month of Ramadan and his tongue plays around with him? How can someone fast when his words and his logic deceive and mislead him? And how can someone fast and lie and backbite, revile, abuse others and forget the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah? How? How can someone fast while bearing false witness and still hurt other Muslims? Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, a Muslim is he from whose tongue and hands other Muslims are safe. Is Islam anything other than deeds, practices, methodologies, submissions, behaviors, and applications? Allah tells us in Surah Al-Isra, say to my slaves that they should only say the best words. Shaitan verily sows disagreements among them. Surely he is to man a plain enemy. Now the best words encouraged here, ibadallah, are those that don't hurt any individual or any group. It's the excellent speech that doesn't violate the honor or dignity of a believer, of a true Muslim. We find in Surah Al-Hujurat, oh, you who believe, you all know this. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran. Oh, you who believe, avoid many suspicion. Indeed, some suspicion are sins. Spy not, neither backbite one another. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? You would hate it. How many fasting people spoil their fast by corrupting their tongues, ibadallah, misuse their reasoning and confuse their words. The purpose of fasting is not just hunger and thirst. It is to discipline and to uplift you during this month. There are, in fact, more than 10 misdeeds that may come from an improperly controlled tongue, such as lying, backbiting, slander, obscenity, cursing, shamelessness, false evidence, criticism, mockery, scorn, and many, many others. Perhaps a word uttered without control may land some of us deep, face down in the hellfire. The tongue is a means to good or either evil. How good it would be for those who remember Allah, seek His forgiveness, praise, glorify, and give thanks to Him, and to make tawbah, to repent. How disappointing it would be for those who used to violate honor, sanctity, besmirch, and damage values. Ibadullah, moisten your tongues during this month with Allah's remembrance. Discipline it with taqwa and clean it from disobedience. Oh Allah, we ask you truthful tongues, pure hearts, and upright character. Now the next little lesson about Allah is the eyes. Yes, there is also a fasting of the eyes. The fast of the eye is to stop and cover it from seeing forbidden things and any indecencies. Allah tells us in Surah An-Nur, tell the believing men to lower their gaze and protect their private parts. That is pure for them. Allah, verily Allah is all aware of what you do. Tell the believing women to lower their gaze and protect their private parts, not to show off their adornment except that which is apparent, and to draw their veils over the ujubihinna. The eye, ibadallah. And it is the door to our ruh, to our spirit. Ali radiallahu anh asked the Prophet about the gaze, and he replied, lower your gaze. Hence, whoever does not lower his gaze will be afflicted with 4 calamities. Firstly, disposing the heart in every direction and tearing apart its every field, resulting in no stability and enjoying no inner sakina, no inner peace. Neither can it mobilize all its power. It's wounded and weakened and complains of the misdeeds of the eyes, its gazes and its glances. Wallahi, we don't know that is going on within us. Secondly, punishment of the soul and training it with loss of what it saw and did not get. The soul, because of the eyes' acts, because of what the eyes do, is in constant distress, anxiety and turmoil. These limbs of us actually talk and speak to us, but we can't hear them. Thirdly, by releasing forbidden glances, the sweetness of ibadah and obedience is lost. Thus say goodbye to the light of Iman if the eye is not disciplined and made to fast from unlawful sights. The soul neither tastes any Iman, any faith, nor finds conviction except through the control of the eyes. And finally, fourthly, ibadallah, because of the great sin incurred by violating honor and privacy, the eyes would be rewarded with great sin. This is what you looked at. No one ever fell into filth and dirtiness and perversion except after his eyes went astray. Surely there is no movement and power except with Allah Azza wa Jal, the Most High. Our righteous forefathers, they said, listen to what he said, I once looked at something forbidden and I forgot the Quran. And after 40 years, Allah rewarded me for lowering my gaze, blessed me with Iman, the sweetness of which I tasted in my heart. It is often said that the eye, it is the pathfinder. It looks, it hunts. If it is sent out, it hunts ibadallah, and if it is bridled, it follows. If it is let loose, it lands the heart into vice, into trouble. 5 benefits and honors can be gained from lowering the gaze. Firstly, obedience to Allah's command to lower the gaze, because He tells us this in Surah An-Nur. This is by itself enough a blessing and honor in this dunya and also in the next. Secondly, peace of the heart, its nourishment, as well as its realization of its full potential, its comfort, its happiness, and its ease. Thirdly, avoiding calamities and safety from trial and misdeeds. Another issue, Allah opens up the doors of knowledge, of understanding, of success and uprightness, a fitting reward of taqwa. Allah instills a sense of sensitivity and judgment in the heart of the learned and His perfect light in the soul of the truthful. Again, a reward for those who do lower their gaze. Accordingly, when Ramadan comes, the eyes are expected to fast in obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. The benefits of hunger are all too many simply because of the eye. Know, ibadallah, therefore, that hunger limits the excesses of the eye. It restrains its misdeeds and limits their scope. Also, hunger weakens the desire to gaze, and it chokes, it stifles the heat of the sight. When the immoral, when the wicked and the shameless release their gazes and fill their eyes, they fall into the traps of shaitan, the filth of disobedience, and the traps of indecency. There are many people whose stomachs are fast from food and drink, but their eyes, they graze in the shrubbery of forbidden sights. These do not know the real essence of fasting, ibadallah. I ask you to let your eyes fast from the haram in the same way we abstain from food and drink this month. Let our hearts and spirits relax and be healthy. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Insan, فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ وَلَقَّاهُمْ نَضْرَةً وَسُرُورًا وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. So Allah saved them from the evil of that day and gave them nadratan. Nadratan is a light of beauty and joy, and their recompense shall be Jannah and silken garments because of their patience. So, in conclusion, we're going to look at something very, very important about Allah, and that is, how does the stomach fast? Lawful and unlawful foods, they affect our life and our behavior and also our character. We don't realize this. The good are those things which Allah made lawful for us through His Prophet, as it tells us in Surah Al-A'raf. He allows them as lawful at-tayyibat and prohibits them as unlawful al-khuba'ith. The stomach's fasting, ibadallah, implies avoiding the unlawful things. I want you to listen very, very carefully. Apart from abstaining from food, from staying away from food and drink and all that invalidates the fast during Ramadan, it also requires avoiding prohibited things after breaking the fast. Therefore, don't eat from the proceeds, I ask you, of riba, of interest. Wallahi, we don't know what happens. For the one who does this, he will earn Allah's anger, as it tells us in Surah Ali Imran. O you who believe, eat not riba, doubled and multiplied, but fear Allah that you may be successful. About this, our Prophet ﷺ, he declared, Allah cursed the one who eats the proceeds of riba, the one who gives it, and the one who writes it. And the witness thereof, they are all the same. In reality, ibadallah, we might not think this, but I want you to listen. The one who eats from interest is actually fooling himself. By filling his stomach with unlawful gain, he effectively closes the doors of his salah to be accepted. No matter how much he may call upon Allah Azza wa Jal. Our Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned to his companions the case of a man who, having journeyed far, is disheveled, messy and untidy with dusty hair. He spreads his hands out to the sky asking Allah while his food and drink was haram, unlawful. So how can his prayers be answered, his dua be answered? This man was indeed very religious, yes. He worshipped a great deal, but he sinned concerning his food, not fearing Allah in what he ate or what he drank. How can the stomach be considered fasting when it eats from unlawful food, gained from maybe the wealth of orphans, or interest, or cheating and force? Surely by Allah, the taste would be spoiled when the food and drink is contaminated, and the hearts would be hardened by the filthy food and drink. The heart's light will go out when lawful sustenance is lost, ibadallah. Abu Bakr was eating one day when something that was questioned, and he asked his servant about the origin of the food, and the servant said, it is from soothsaying, magic, a practice that it used to be engaged in before Islam. Abu Bakr became so angry, he put his finger in his mouth, and he vomited out what was in his stomach, and Allah thereafter purified and accepted everything that he gave as sadaqah. Remember, give sadaqah this month, ibadallah. Give. On the whole, food, listen, food stays in the stomach after you eat it. Isn't it right? Yes. Its traces remain in the flesh and in the blood. Anyone nourished by haram food will find its destiny in hellfire. Our forefathers knew from where they ate. Their tastes were pure, and as a result, they had healthy bodies and enlightened hearts. When the food and drink of their successors became dirty and defiled, the signs of Hidayah left their hearts. Our Prophet ﷺ said, a servant has never eaten better food than what he has earned with his own hands. But what we don't realize about Allah, the heart purifies that dirty food and the blood in it and sends it where? To all the various parts of the body. So what goes to the various parts of the body? Haram issues, ibadallah. Please listen carefully, we don't realize it. Islam encourages seeking the earning of sustenance from lawful means. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Baqarah, those who eat riba will not stand except like the standing of someone beaten by shaitan, leading him to madness on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Ibn al-Jawzi reported that he once ate something that was questionable, and his heart changed and darkened thereafter. Such was the awareness of our forefathers, ibadallah. They felt the changes in their heart as they strove to clean and purify them. As for many of us today, we eat as we like without sensing any changes in our hearts. Whoever desires grace, the way to accomplish it would be made easy for him. Remember this. Some consume alcohol and other forms of illegal intoxicants, thereby denying themselves the delight of ibadah and sweetness of obedience. They live submerged in anxiety and they are forbidden from happiness. Ibadallah. There is a fast of the stomach. He who does not observe it, it is as if he did not fast at all. Please refrain from the unlawful and strictly observe their food and drink in order to enter Jannah. Allahumma ighfir li lil mu'min.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح